We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Walter Jennings.
And I'm Jeff Witt.
I'm Lakeisha Hines.
I'm Roland Bradley.
Look at that. We got it all right and didn't stumble over each other. And we are your Couples Academy practitioners. And this is Ask the Experts. And we are here to answer your questions. We already have some in the chat. And for those of you who are just joining us, please be sure to place your comments and questions in the comments section. Really busy, great, productive week for all of us. We want to give a special shout out as we get started to our fearless leaders, Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, who are actually over in Nigeria, Africa right now, spreading the good news and restoring couples. And so we are ready to get into your questions. So you all ready to get started?
Yes.
All right. We got a barn burner right off the top. So this is from Ben from Tennessee. Ben says, Jeff, I read Radical Husbands, which is a book I have given up, lowered my expectations. And as an 8, which is the Enneagram number, I will burn ship. I am off it. I'm on it if it crosses me. By the way, next book I'm purchasing is The Proper Care and Feeding of Husbands. It sounds complementary to Radical Husbands. Both books combined would be great preventative. My question, is it possible my erotic blueprint has died? I'm a shapeshifter, or I was more accurately. Currently, I'm intermittent fasting on my own volition in that area.
I think it's good that you're intermittent fasting, Ben. As far as, I don't know how you intermittent fast from the erotic stuff, but but I can understand fasting definitely. It would be a good idea to get away from that physical realm for a little while so that you can retain the other parts of your mind, your body, and your spirit that need to be maintained so that you can have a healthy sexual relationship with your spouse. Now, here's the deal. I love the fact that you're reading this book. Dr. Schlesinger is fairly good, I would say, but I would rather you check out the second book I gave you, which is called Open Her. And the reason why I want you to do that is because there are things that you've indicated after several shows that you would like to see from your spouse. Well, that's true. You can have those expectations because you've made some changes in some areas and you want her to make some changes in some areas. But the trick is to make it a comfortable environment in which they want to have, where they can articulate their goals and want to make those changes on their own. Open Her is a way to create that environment and to show that level of intuitiveness and understanding and care that can create an environment for change. Because if there's always tension, no one is ever going to do what you want them to do. If there's always some kind of worry, fear, or doubt that you're not playing ball a certain way, no one is ever going to do what you want them to do. The whole idea here with Open Her is that you're learning how to communicate with a woman the way she needs to hear it. And it's written by a woman. And, Dr. Schlesinger's book looks like it's more geared towards having your wife know what she needs to do to take care of you. I'm going to tell you, first of all, in order for the relationship to heal, you need to heal all the things in you primarily, and she will come around. I'm telling you what I find with most men. It's not true of everyone, but when we don't completely 100% commit to creating certainty in the home, it is very hard to get anything out of your spouse. Because if they're worried and if they're sitting in fear and if they're sitting in doubt, their biggest the biggest problem is giving their heart over to a concept where they feel like they could be hurt again. And so you need to create that safe space. And one of the ways of doing that is by having open and honest communication about everything. Open Her is not just about sex. It's really about creating a bond that is unbreakable again, something you probably had when you first met that broke down as you became parents and husbands and workers, and all those roles got in the way of the love that was originally there. So I would say before you bother with Dr. Schlesinger, good book, put it to the side, read Open Her first, and not only read the book, Not only read what Radical Husbands do, but experience the book, put it into practice, take notes, create an action plan, and implement.
So the premise of, again, all of this, you all, is that some of the strategies and the methods and even the books, these need to then evolve into a lifestyle where you're creating an environment for some of the change and some of the growth that you want to see within your marriage. Roland, I want to have you chime in a little bit in regards to this, in regards to Ben and this question.
So absolutely, man, we have to be willing to look at ourselves and do the work for ourselves. If you want a better marriage, you have to start with yourself first. And doing a deep dive into yourself gives you the opportunity to know how to better love and handle and care for your spouse, even after infidelity, even going through the situations that you're going through. But we have to take out the time to be intentional. That's the key word throughout the process of recovery, throughout the process of marriage, period. You have to be intentional on the route that you take. And to Jeff's point, don't just read the books. You have to experience the books. Do what the book says. If you follow the directions and instructions that are given, you cannot mess up. You can only succeed when you do the work.
Absolutely. Everything we read and everything we do is for us first. And we have to apply it and walk in it before we actually see the manifestation of it. Keisha, this next one is going to be for you. They say, good morning. 1 year till the D-Day is coming up, and I'm having a hard time dealing with this. How can I get past it?
1 year, gosh, it's your 1 year anniversary. That first one's always tough. Like, it's super, super tough. So I completely understand that. I'm more concerned about how you get through it versus you get past it. You got to go through it. It's something that you have to experience. And the more anniversaries you have, the easier it will become. But everything starts with your mind. You know, how are you approaching this mentally and emotionally? Are you thinking about it's going to be sad? Are you already telling yourself, man, this is going to be the worst day. It's going to be so hard. I don't know how we're going to do it. Like, what is that self-talk that you're having? And so I'm challenging you now to shift your self-talk and set your expectations in a positive way instead of thinking about, man, this is going to be a horrible situation, if that's what you're doing. One of the things that we talk about all the time is trying to create new memories. You know, D-Day doesn't have to be disastrous. D-Day could be delightful. You know, it's really what you make it. It's what you make a conscious decision to do. So just start automatically thinking about how you want to approach D-Day, discuss it with your spouse, and you guys get in alignment, get on the same page about, you know, we're not going to continue to be a slave to what has happened in the past. Of course, it is there. We can't ignore it. I'm not telling you to ignore it and pretend like it didn't happen. But as far as D-Day is concerned, shift it, turn it into something that can be celebratory. Celebrate the fact that you're still together, that you're still fighting, that you're still working, trying to make it happen instead of reflecting on what caused this D-Day in the first place.
And Keisha, I want to highlight something you mentioned because I think it's a really important point for not only this situation, but everybody listening. You said that you were more concerned about how they move past it, how they move through it, rather than how they move past it. And so you can correct or confirm. That speaks to the idea that as you are going through this, the way that you are experiencing it, the things that you're learning, who you are becoming as you go through this process is oftentimes more important than you getting over it and having it in your rear view mirror. Is that correct?
Absolutely, 100%.
Indeed. All right. So, Roland, I want to throw this next question your way. Miss Pep said, we had issues of betrayal whilst dating, but he decided to stay in the relationship and we've been working on us. It's been 3 years since D-Day and we've been married now for about a year, but it's not been easy. Despite the progress, he still has troubles with flashes, his masculinity, and how his friends will see him for staying. How can we deal with this? And so I want to clarify too. It sounds like Miss Peps was the betrayer, and her husband was the one who was the betrayed, and him dealing with this as a man in this situation. Roland.
So I think, we need to get some clarity on it. But, for the most part, when we have betrayal, period, we have to be willing to do the work to get through the process. To Lakeisha's point, going through these different phases of recovery, different phases of marriage, different phases of relationships, it takes work. And that's something that we refuse to address all the time. We think it's just going to be marital bliss from, day to day, but issues arise. And when they do arise, we have to be willing to step in, do something different in order to get something different. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same old. And that's how the relationships become mundane. That's how the relationships become boring, as we like to say. And then there's no adjustments being made because nobody wants to do the work.
And Jeff, she talked about that masculinity and how he may be appearing to his friends with staying in the relationship. How would you speak to that?
Well, you already know how we roll. It's a whole different idea of what we consider friends. First of all, my friends have to be striving towards the same goals, dreams, and vision of marriage and life as I am. I don't hang out with single men. I do have single men that I coach and I mentor, but they're not on my same plane. So I would have to say he probably needs to reevaluate some of those friendships if they're leaning on him that way. As far as the problems with masculinity and feeling like a man, that's a pretty standard thing in our society, unfortunately, because no one's actually taught how to be a man these days. So the way that we get around that is actually going through some trainings through and learning about, who you are as a man, what it means to be a man in this day and age. Unfortunately, we need manuals because this stuff 100 years ago was kind of instinctual. We had our fathers right there with us 100, 200 years ago, doing the same work that we did, showing us how to take care of our family, showing us how to take care of our home and how to show up in society. We don't have that as often anymore because they go off to corporate America and come home and have the TV raise the kids. So we're a part of a generation that was the first level of that. And now it's getting worse with video games and social media. So I would encourage him to find what he's looking through a program like Foundry or through some kind of reading about what it takes to be a man. And we have several books that we recommend for figuring out who you are as a person. One of them is Inner Engineering, Sadhguru. There's several other ones. And then also having goals in front of you that you're working and striving to as a couple and as individuals so that you can achieve what you really want in life.
Absolutely. All right, you all. You're tuned in to Ask the Experts. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back with more of your questions.
When 45 men from all walks of life come together in one place for one purpose, there is a collective harmony that produces an amplification of power that leaves an impact on the lives of men that cannot be erased. A fraternity of legendary men, all at the tipping point, on the precipice of greatness, meeting for one weekend to turn their worlds inside out. For the first time ever, the Foundry experience. Not an event, not a seminar or retreat, but an opportunity to come face to face with the man you were always destined to be. If you want a life that's better than the one that you are living, meet us. January 2023 for the Foundry Experience.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Ask the Experts. Two amazing Couples Academy events that are coming up over the next few months in January. Once again, the Foundry Experience. If you are a man, a husband, and you are interested in strengthening yourself and in your walk and in your 4 compass areas, which, is a little bit of a teaser, be sure to reach out in regards to Foundry. And also Last Chance Weekend, which is a transformational experience for couples that are on the edge of divorce. Maybe you're already separated. This is the weekend for you. And speaking of that, you all, our next 2 questions are actually geared towards individuals who are either separated or divorced. Stephanie says, good morning. How do you effectively communicate with the spouse during separation when the issues of infidelity hasn't been dealt with and there's still some bitterness and hurt there? Keisha, can you take this one? You're muted, Keisha.
Hey, good morning, Stephanie. How are you? So, here's the thing, right? Separation is one thing. We talk about it often, controlled separation, right? But there are certain things that should be happening during that controlled separation. You guys should still be doing the work. So what have you done? It doesn't sound like you guys have done anything if you're telling me that you haven't dealt with the infidelity. I mean, are you separating I have more questions. Are you separating with the intent of possibly getting back together? Or you're separated because you're trying to go your separate ways? I don't know. If you guys are still considering moving forward with your relationship and you're just taking a time out, then there's work that you still need to do while you're separated. So I'm just not sure. Is this a controlled separation or what are we doing? Did I miss it?
So, Keisha, I wanted to chime in. Part 2 of that question was further down. She says, okay, how do you have effective communication to co-parent after separation because of infidelity? But the issues haven't been addressed. And every time we're around each other, it's tension and hurt still.
Right. So it's going to be tension. It's going to be hurt because you guys haven't dealt with the infidelity. One of the things that I share with couples all the time that I'm working with is like, look, whether you guys choose to stay together or not, you still got to heal this. Because all you're doing is carrying it, that hurt and pain, bringing it along with you into your next relationship. And it impacts all of your relationships, your work life, your friendship life, your relationship with your other friends, and even your relationship with your children, because you're walking around hurting and in pain. And you may think that you're not hurting all of these other relationships, but you are. It's like a cancer, this unforgiveness that spreads all throughout your body. You can't control where it goes and who it affects and how it impacts, how it shows up. You can't. So you really have to work toward healing that. But I mean, you guys may need to bring in a third party, to be completely honest with you, to teach you how to communicate effectively. I had to co-parent at one point, and I'm telling you, it is very difficult when there's still past hurts, because everything that you have to deal with, every issue, even if it's about the child, it comes back to the past hurts and pains. It's laced with that past hurt and pain, and you can't see past that. So you're not even making the best decisions. You're not even making always healthy decisions for your child and what needs to happen with them, because you're still dealing with hurt and pain. So you guys got to address it. You got to deal with it, whether you're planning to get back together or not.
So there's a breakdown in that communication, and inevitably it's going to lead to problems with you all co-parenting. So a good way to frame this is as a way for you all to co-parent better, and then leading it into that discussion. But definitely Keisha and her point of getting a mediator, reaching out to us here at Couples Academy and having someone to help you all bring out those issues so that you can strengthen your communication in that process is going to be very important. Roland, I want to throw this one your way because definitely seems like some great candidates for Last Chance Weekend. Tiffany says, I have my first court date for the divorce on the 24th. I feel like he's dragging his feet because he doesn't want to lose me, but he keeps emotionally cheating and crossing boundaries. I don't want the divorce, but I'm willing to leave so I don't have to live in a continuous state of uncertainty, lies, and betrayal. So it sounds like neither Tiffany nor her husband want the divorce. So what say you?
So Last Chance Weekend definitely is going to be the most helpful thing for you in this state. I know that you have a divorce date on the 24th, which is literally on Monday, right around the corner. And so oftentimes, when people are in crisis, they wait to the last minute to get the help that they really need. But we are here to help. Right, Last Chance Weekend is going to take you through a comprehensive exercises for both of you all to see yourselves, to see your marriage, to better your marriage, and to get you out of this state that you're in. Men have to lead by example and do the work. And when we're not willing to do that, the whole system breaks down. Everything, the functionality of the marriage tends to break down. And we have to find the help that we need. We have to find the mediator, the third party to come in to kind of level things off, level the playing field. You have to be able to be willing to go in and have surgery on yourself. That heart transformation has to take place in order for you to see the change. And we're here to help. Last Chance Weekend is going to be your best bet, I promise.
Jeff, you've been a part of Last Chance Weekend from the very beginning, and you've seen some amazing stories. And so can you share a little bit about with Tiffany and a situation like this?
Yeah, I'm thinking of several situations where people have been separated for 5 years and then got back together. And I saw a situation where people have been separated for 12 years, came back together, got actually divorced and got remarried. Saw one situation where they literally had their divorce scheduled. Husband was living out of the home. They went home together. The whole key to this is understanding if you both don't want divorce, but you're threatening each other with a nuclear weapon of divorce, I don't blame you for drawing a line, Tiffany. Drawing a line and saying, hey, look, I'm going to divorce you. Fix yourself. That's the part I have a problem with. The fix yourself part. Like, you either fix yourself, because you're saying you don't really want the divorce, but you're not going to be treated this way. Completely understand that. What I am saying, though, is I know what divorces cost, especially if they're contested. It sounds like he's dragging his feet because it's contested. If it is contested, the best thing to do, save yourself the money, go to a Last Chance Weekend, make your decision there by how he engages. If you're going to use some kind of ultimatum, say, look, we got to get help. Ask him. You said you don't know if you think he doesn't want to get divorced. Why not become just a little bit vulnerable and ask him, do you really want this divorce? I mean, you guys used to share a life and share a bed together. So allowing yourself to become vulnerable a little bit, you still got the weapon in your back pocket. You know what I mean? Let's come to the treaty table and say, hey, look, do you want this? Do you really want this divorce? And you have to be honest. See, a lot of us are hiding it in toughness. Be honest. I don't really want this. If he says, no, I don't. So I don't really want this divorce either, but we got to do some work. Here are the options I'm going to lay out on the table. We need to get some help. And so we call that for the divorce with the lawyers and all this stuff and fight each other and try to figure this thing out where we're still going to have to heal from it, or we can go heal from it and make our decision on whether we're staying together. I think the proper order is to figure it out, figure out how to communicate again, and then make a decision, as opposed to pull out the weapons and the knives and go to war and create literally like relational suicide, because both of you don't want to do this.
It's called Last Chance Weekend for a reason. Yes. So if you're going to make this decision, if you all are going to strongly consider divorce, then for not only you, Tiffany, but anyone else out there, we strongly advise you to look into Last Chance Weekend to see if your marriage has a fighting chance. All right, Keisha, want to throw this one your way. JG says, are triggers after my husband's infidelities my responsibility? Jeff, stop nodding your head. Wait till I finish the whole question first. Wait, let me finish the question. Don't be one of those instructors. Are triggers after my husband's infidelities my responsibility? When he's doing his part 3 years later, I still feel like I could be hurt again 3 years later.
Okay, first and foremost, I feel like the setup is real. You know, I'm with my brothers today, right? So, ladies, they want me to come for y'all. This is what they do to me. They try to set me up so I can come for you, but I'm here for it. Listen, yes, it is your fault, sis. Yes, it is. Because we both have work to do. Whether you cheated or you were the one that was cheated on, we both have work to do, because everybody wants to make it be about the infidelity. And I get that. I understand that. That's the thing that you can pinpoint. That's the thing that you can say, you know what? That's what went wrong. That's the problem. You cheated. It's the infidelity. No, It's not. It's everything that was happening or not happening before the infidelity. That's the stuff we don't want to get to. That's the muck and the dirt and the messiness. We don't want to deal with that. We just want to focus on the infidelity, right? But there's so much more. But with these triggers, you said out of your own fingers that he has been doing the work for 3 years. We have clients right now. We can't get these dudes to do the work for 3 days. And you said 3 years this man has been doing the work. Yes, sis. You have got, listen, reach out, get support. You need help because you've been trying to do this on your own. You're trying to do it in and of your own strength. And so we have to know where we end and where God has to begin. We also have to know where we end and where we need third-party support. True story. Just a situation came up in my own marriage yesterday. Okay, my own marriage. And I'm here coaching, talking to y'all, right? Something came up in my own marriage and I said, "Ooh, you know what? This is beyond me. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than my husband. So you know what? We're booking a session. We have our own counselor. We have our own support system that we reach out to. Even now, we've been married all these years, and yet we still have a support system. So we're going to reach out because we realize this is bigger than us. And we don't know how to fix this particular situation. So we're going to reach out to someone else and get support. So you can't do it by yourself, apparently. So I would say, give us a call, reach out, let us support you through this, because if you don't show up differently, your spouse is going to give up. He's going to lose hope, and all of the good, wonderful things that he's been doing, you're going to start to see that slowly but slowly dissipate. And that's not what we want.
The good book says, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness.
What?
Can you imagine if your God held you to the same accountability that you're holding to him right now? Like, for real. And I want you to know, you use a very specific word that we teach definition of in Foundry. You use the word, is it my responsibility? Something cannot be your fault, but it is always your responsibility, because responsibility is the ability to respond. You have a possibility in your life and the ability to change your responses, your reactions, and your behavior. And you also have the ability to respond in a way that encourages, uplifts, and supports him doing well. If your kid failed in basketball or grades, would you say you're a terrible son and give them the cold shoulder because they ticked you off? Or would you say give them the support when they're trying to do the right thing? You see them studying. I get it if he was out there playing the games, but you said he's doing the work. So you need to be the responsible person and uplift that. And that's first. Second, you need to go learn how to control this and this, your heart, your mind, and your emotions, and how you react. Once we get control over that, everyone needs that all the time. We're working on that every day, about learning how to react to the world differently. Because when surprises come, we tend to go to our instinct, and that instinctual nature is very, very dangerous. So you have to learn the tools to get beyond it. So definitely seek help, but definitely at least stop and give him praise for those 3 years. He needs to hear that from you. Yes. You can literally add in a caveat. That's okay, because men are used to hearing caveats from their wives. You can say, look, I'm really proud of you for how you've been acting. I still have worry, fear, and doubt. Mm-hmm. I want to arrive at a place of certainty. See, everybody wants trust back, but trust is not the end of the bridge from worry, fear, and doubt. Certainty is. When it becomes certain, you're not even thinking about it. Yeah. Trust still requires this high level of energy. Certainty is like, I know my husband's doing right. It's as certain as you know you can get up out of a chair right now. You don't think about it, you just do it. And that's what you're really striving for. So I understand you don't want to trust again. I think you want to be able to arrive at certainty. Your husband has some things he needs to do in order to participate, to get you there. But you have some things you need to do in order to respond and create a healthy and happy relationship from this point on, so that you can actually build the relationship you always dreamed of.
And JJ, it's important for you to also get some individual help and support as well. And Unearthed is a very, very powerful program that speaks into women like yourself. So definitely reach out, because it will help to reinforce some of the things that may be blocking you from being able to get past and see the work that your husband is doing and being able to realize the newness of your marriage. Roland, I want to throw this question your way because it is somewhat related as it relates to not being able to either see the newness or really embrace the totality of the spouse and the person that we're in a marriage with. So Kimberly says the phrase, when someone shows you who they are, believe them, doesn't seem to apply to a marriage. When you are expected to forgive, have compassion, selflessness, and overlook all the deceit, it's hard not to keep a protective wall up.
So listen, I totally get it. I totally understand your sentiment. However, it is very place in a lot of guys. I am a recipient of change and an advocate of change. And you have...
We're losing you, Roland.
Yeah, it sounds like you're breaking up, Roland.
When someone shows you who you are, believe them. I think that can be true.
And whose you are, that heart transfer.
All right, brother.
All right, we're gonna go ahead, Jeff. We're gonna drop Roland off for a second. Go ahead, Jeff.
When someone shows you who are, believe them. I believe that statement to be true, but what you have to look at is continuous patterns and the fact that that can shift and change. There are changes you've made in your life. There was a time when I was super fit, and there was a time when I was super fat. There was a time when I was getting up every morning and going to the gym, and there was a time when I never went to the gym. There was a time when I did work diligently, and there was a time when I was lazy. We all have the ability to change. I think what you need to look at is the consistency and the path and direction in which they're going, and the consistency as it builds towards that, as opposed to making a judgment that someone does something once. The whole idea that a leopard can't change its spots, that may be true, but he can stop wearing them spots all the time. You know what I mean? It's like there's a nature in all of us that has something bad in it if we've ever been hurt in our lives.
You should jump in really quick.
Yeah, I mean, the statement is true. The statement is true. When people show you who they are, believe them. It is a true statement. And does it apply in marriage? Yes, but here's the challenge. You know, people can change. People can change. And in marriage, you know, we're constantly evolving. We're constantly growing and improving, right? Hopefully, we're working on ourselves. And so, yes, it's applicable, but at the same time, you know, we have to give each other, as believers and as married couples, we have to give each other grace. You know, we're extended grace and mercy every single day. So whether it's someone you're married to or someone you're not married to me, that grace and mercy still has to be extended to the person, you know, that you're in relationship with.
We're absolutely layered individuals. It's important for us to extend that mercy and grace to one another, especially as spouses, because we also have that is one of the most intimate and closest relationships that you will ever have with an individual on this earth. You see their flaws, you see behind the scenes. They oftentimes are the face of your frustration and disappointment. So I want to challenge you too, that some of the things that you're seeing may also be stemming from the frustration that you're experiencing within yourself. And that's not, again, to try to discount any of the things that you're experiencing from your spouse, but to remember that you all are in a relationship together where you are totally naked all the time. And I mean that emotionally and spiritually, that you all are seeing one another's, your positives, your negatives, your goods, your bads, your challenges, and walking through all those things together. So it's important to have that grace and mercy extended.
Well, listen, hopefully you get to be naked physically all the time too. Hopefully.
Hopefully not all the time. You know, hopefully not all the time. But hey, you all, these are great questions. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more Ask the Experts right here on the Couples Academy Network. You're tuned in to Ask the Experts on the Couples Academy Network. We're here to answer your questions. And listen, it's been another powerful session. And so we're getting ready to cover a few more before we jump off the line. Keisha, this is for you. Francisca says, my unfaithfulness happened earlier this year. He said he wanted to work it out, and now he wants to leave. He said he needs space. Why try all this long only to say that he wants to leave? Should I be worried?
Yes.
Hi, Francisca. Here's the thing. Your question is posed in a way that it sounds like you think that he intentionally did what he did, tried to work on it all this time and then intentionally made a decision that, you know what, I'm done and I don't want to do this anymore. When you've been hurt, at this level, you do toggle back and forth. You do have highs and lows. You got triggers. You have all this stuff going on, all that trauma and that pain. Some days you feel like you can do it. And other days you feel like I don't have any strength left in my body to do anything. I can't even get me out of bed today, let alone fight to save this relationship. So, you just go through these ebbs and flows while you're on this recovery journey. So yes, you should be worried because perhaps he's losing faith. It could be a situation where you're not showing up for him the way that he needs you to show up for him. So again, reach out, get some help, get some assistance. Let us help and support both of you guys individually and collectively.
Absolutely. Definitely need to make sure you have a mediator in the process because it also provides accountability that you are doing the work and also provides a person as a voice of reason in the middle of that. Jeff, this is for you. Dark Knight says, I admit it's been low, but after a failed marriage and relationships that ended up in betrayal, I feel like it's my destiny to feel unworthy of anything good, including my romantic life. I need help with my self-esteem. This is an alley-oop if there ever was one.
Brother, look, find a way to get into Foundry. Find a way, if nothing else, to get to the event in January. I'm telling you, we have a whole process of rebuilding self-esteem. See, when you know who you are, and I'm not talking about what has happened to you. See, we're human beings, not human doings. So what's happened to you and what you've done. Listen, we've got men who've been in prison 8.5 years. I got men who were stuck on drugs. I had a dude who tried to convince his Mennonite wife to be polyamorous and lost his children in the process. I don't care what your situation is. If I told you that my man who went to prison for 8.5 years is now a head of a major organization, walks into boardrooms and does crazy presentations in front of boards of lawyers. If I were to tell you my man who wanted to have a Mennonite wife and used to do all kinds of drugs is now running an 8-figure company and he doesn't even have a college degree. There's a process to rebuilding who you are. So your problem is you're living life by default. We're going to teach you how to live life by design. So you can design a life and then follow the steps. We have rules that allow us to see how to design that life and then who and how to follow the steps to get exactly what you want, because success leaves clues, and we give you a lot of tools to get there, So look, if nothing else, reach out to myself or Hassani and just have a discovery call so we can walk you through the concepts, because we don't have 20 minutes here to do that.
The tools, the structures, the strategy, and also the camaraderie of Foundry is so critical, and it's been such an amazing benefit in my life personally, and I firsthand seen the impact that it's had on the lives of other men. So be sure to reach out. I want to pitch this to both of you, and Keisha, I want you to chime in first. They say, what does one do when they can't talk to their wife because of mental filtering? Example, when the husband speaks, she has a negative interpretation of what he said. So that sounds like a bit of deflecting.
Cool the Lover. Gosh, I love your name. Hey, so here's the thing. We all have a tendency to do that, right? Especially when we've been hurt. We all have a tendency to do that. So what I'm going to suggest to you is, once your husband communicates something to you, repeat it back. And then ask them to confirm or correct if that's what they're saying, if that's what they meant, if that was the intent or whatever, and repeat it back so that you get that clarification. We make these assumptions all the time that the person means this or they're saying that, or I received it this way. Is how you're interpreting and processing what they're saying that could be the issue, or it could be the way at times the way your husband is delivering the information. So I would just repeat it back and then say, this is what I heard. And so is this what you meant? Is this what you intended to say, so that you get that clarification and you don't make those assumptions moving forward?
Jeff, chime in on that mental filtering piece.
Well, so there are people who have a negative tuned mind where everything that they hear is going to go to a negative place. But I want you to know that that can be influenced. That can be influenced heavily by learning their patterns. See, genius lies in pattern recognition. Genius lies in pattern recognition. I'm going to say that one more time. Genius lies in pattern recognition. And you have to decide whether the pattern is positive or negative. If it's a positive one, you're actually going to just go with that pattern and let it rock. If it's a negative, the temptation is to jump in front and block that pattern. And I'm going to tell you that because relationships are both emotional and spiritual experiences, that their elements are both fire and water. And so since their elements are fire and water, you know, what you want to do with water is you don't want to block it, because then it builds up and tries to crash through. You want to channel it in a different direction. So when we're going to learn how to communicate, we're going to learn how to guide them to the thought process. And like Keisha said, you have to learn how to ask certain questions. So after I just said that, because a lot of times we'll end something, we'll just walk away and think that they understood us. Mm-hmm. Hey, tell me, what are you hearing right now from me? I just want to make sure that I said it right. So when you go with that soft approach, now we're channeling it in the direction we want it to go. And we're making sure we're getting the feedback that says, hey, it's moving in the right direction. That's one of the first tools that you could use. The second thing that you can use the social clues to see how they receive something. A lot of people are processors, so they won't say things right away. So you want to be able to look at the social cues and their behaviors and see if it's going in the right direction, and do constant checkups to see how they're feeling and how they're reacting at any given time. Because, you know, hey, we didn't, you know, I don't necessarily feel like we resolved that complete issue yesterday. I want to know, are you okay? I really care about you. You have to go from that point of care, love, and concern. Mm-hmm. You have to stop thinking, well, I said it, so they understood it. That's a big problem that a lot of men have. I had to know some women that have that problem too, but I know a lot of men that have that problem. Well, I told her. You know what I mean? That doesn't work with a lot of people.
Yeah. Got time for about
you have employees. You have to get them to repeat it back to you.
We got time for about one or two more questions. This is from Chris. Chris says, how do you get your spouse to come clean in the discovery phase? Still feels like there's more to the story. Hard to forgive when you don't really know what you're truly forgiving. This is the power and the strength of the Couples Academy, because part of the challenge with a lot of people is that they want their spouse to reveal all this information, but then they don't have the strategies and the tools to really effectively navigate the process. And it is a process. So we take you through a comprehensive step-by-step, making your spouse, helping them to get comfortable with uncovering some of the things that have taken place, and then help you in the recovery process. So reaching out to us, making sure that you have a mediator or even a last chance weekend to walk you through those processes is going to be very important, so that you don't do more harm as this information is being revealed. There is a such thing as getting too much information and then not effectively knowing what to do with it, where you can actually do more harm than good. Keisha, you want to chime in on that?
You said it all for me.
I have one thing I want to add real quick. I do not know a man or woman alive, no matter how strong, how good they are, that can keep their composure and get through a complete discovery without a third party sitting there. You wouldn't want to go into court without a lawyer and a judge. In a very complex situation where things need to be explained and understood, you wouldn't want to do that at all, right? You want a third party, like a union representative, to make sure that your rights are being protected and you're not being abused, because there's a lot of little nicks and cuts that happen. We have to sit there in that process of, whoa, you already asked that question and they answered it. Or wait a second, like, it seems like you're stuck on this issue, or you're being a little bit mean there. That's unfair. We have to do that for both sides. Look, man, you're not giving a complete answer. Like, dude, you're acting like a lawyer, because men have a tendency to become immediately lawyers. Their words get bigger. all of a sudden they use a vocabulary that they haven't used in a very long time, if ever in their lives, to try to describe what had happened was. And we got to get away from that. So you need someone there to cut through the BS on both sides. I don't know a man or a woman strong enough to get through a full disclosure, not trickle disclosure, a trickle truth, but a full disclosure. No one alive can get, I mean, you'd have to be a superhuman being. And as much as I want to believe that you are, I'm going to tell you it's probably advisable that you get help.
All right, so this last question that we have, and I know that probably many of you out there have it as well. We've been talking a lot about Last Chance Weekend, and we've also been discussing the importance of it. And so wanted to pose this question from Tiffany. She says, I am reaching out to deal with the finances because we agreed that Last Chance Weekend is a good idea. Just financially, it's tough. Please be sure that you reach out to us because there are payment plans available. So be sure that you call. Obviously, on our website, you'll be able to see the amount that's listed, but be sure to reach out to Couples Academy directly because there are payment plans that are available that'll help you spread those costs out. But the main thing is that to make the investment in your marriage and in your relationship.
We work it out with you. We work it out. We'll work something with you. Now, I do want you to understand, sometimes when we look at our finances, we place attention in the wrong areas. I do want to make sure that's clear. So like I had a guy who told me he couldn't do Last Chance Weekend, but I saw he was in a brand new 2021 Tahoe. That's a $96,000 vehicle. I see people saying they can't afford Last Chance Weekend, but if I go on their Facebook, they rocking this, like sometimes it is truly financial, but sometimes it's about what is the value of a healthy marriage. Can you put a cost on that? And I'm not saying, like, we're not talking about tens of thousands of dollars here, right? So we're not talking about that. We're saying, is my marriage worth the investment of a few grand?
No, Jeff, is my peace worth? It's my peace worth.
I might not believe your marriage is, but is your peace of mind, surety, certainty, is that worth a few grand? It is. It absolutely is. And I think you're the one that mentioned that you were going through a divorce. If it's contested and there's assets, the average divorce in Georgia, anyways, I know, costs around 24 to 30 grand if you're dividing the assets contested and you're fighting over disputes. And that's before alimony, child support, all that other stuff that comes along with it. So I want you to consider that the value, and then there's all the fighting, the two houses, the two separate cars, the two separate bills, all of the value there that's not being considered a lot of times when we're making these decisions. And it's a lot cheaper than a wedding. And
we can say whatever we want, but the bottom line is our priorities is proven in what we purchase.
Absolutely.
Our priorities are proven in what we purchase. Hey, you all, this has been another Ask the Experts. Thank you all so much for tuning in. My name is Walter Jennings.
I'm Lakeisha Hines.
And I'm Jeff Wood.
We are your Couples Academy practitioners. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to us on the Couples and download the Couples Academy app. Reach out to us on couplesacademy.org. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. Be sure to tune in Monday morning for the Couples Academy show at 9 a.m. And we look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great weekend, everyone.